Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
The next photo, I believe, is one of me at Montpelier. Yeah, it's the next story in the evolution of who I am.
So it says, me at the doorway of a slave cabin. So is this a staged photo? Like, is that really you?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's really powerful. It's a haunting image because it's like the interior of a cabin that looks a little. You can sort of see like a brick fireplace, wooden floorboards, wooden sides, because it is quite rustic or a cabin. The door is clearly wooden. It's a dramatic image that you're standing there with your hands against the frame, the door frame, and the light coming in. I don't know how staged this photograph is, but it's as a photograph, it's very powerful. So you're standing there, your shadow is falling across the floor. It's in black and white, so it's just shapes and form. And you're at the doorway of a slave cabin.
This photograph it is quite beautiful and haunting. It was taken by Eduardo Montes Bradley for a permanent exhibit at Montpelier that's called The Mere Distinction of Color. And the exhibit is about Montpelier's enslaved people. And it shows that they were human beings.
Mm-hmm.
That's the purpose of the exhibit. Part of the exhibit is to talk about daily lives or illustrate the daily lives of people. It's actually in the cellar of James Madison's former home. And it's in the cellar because that's where the enslaved people worked, the house slaves. And some of them live there. So one part is about the role that the enslaved people played in James Madison's personal life, and Dolly Madison, the Madison family. Mm-hmm. The other part of the exhibit shows how the slaves are not mentioned, actually, in the U.S. Constitution.
Beyond the book and beyond your TED Talk, how can we sort of elevate people who are struggling to understand that, to find hope, to make every second count?
Just explore what's important to them and what their dreams are. Brainstorm about how we can make those dreams come true. And sometimes I have to tell them, you can have dreams. Don't let anybody talk you out of your dreams. Maybe they're not what your parents want for you, or even I would want for you, but I certainly don't matter. And sometimes the parents are sort of putting shackles on their children's dreams, often because of their own experiences. But for me, one of the greatest tragedies is that there are a lot of young people who have a lot of potential, and that potential is all too often not realized for a number of different reasons. In the case of young Black people, it certainly can be racism. Racism is I just have to call it a shackle. It just saps out the hope and energy and joy that, young people could have.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. What's your next great work? How would you advise someone who may be trying to figure out, well, what's their next big thing? Like, be it a book or be it studies or be it a job or whatever.
It's going to depend on what those dreams are, but figure out how to make them possible.
Hmm.
You know, I'm 80 years old and I don't stop dreaming. I am now working on a screenplay, which takes forever to
Hmm.
get onto the screen. First, you have to write it, and then, the whole process is worse than getting a book published. But I'm not letting my age prevent me from working very hard on making this happen.
Nice.
So, the kids certainly are in a better, I don't like that word. I mean, I can't think of another word, but they're in a position in which they have time on their side. They can afford to make a few mistakes, and they can afford to figure out how and why those mistakes happen,
Hmm.
how not to let them happen again, what step is next to get back on track toward fulfilling those dreams.
Right. Okay, well, Betty. Okay, so again, Bettye Kearse. The book is 3 years old. It's only 3 years old, so it's still very young. The Other Madisons: The Lost History of a President's Black Family. Yeah, it'll be in the show notes for people to read. Is there any last thing you'd like to add?
I'm just going to make a little comment about the book and a review
Okay.
that I had, and it said, "This is the roots for the next generation." So I don't know if your audience is familiar with Alex Haley's book,
Hmm.
Roots, and the TV miniseries
Hmm.
that was based on it.
And people should watch it for sure, or read it. You said you're working on a screenplay? Is it the screenplay of this book?
It's a screenplay based on this book. It's not the book.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the log line, but it's something like a Black descendant of President James Madison galvanizes the history of rape and incest to heal, I think, to heal the racism smoldering in her mother, a pregnant Black teenager, and herself.
Whew. That was a lot. Wow. Wow, Betty. Wow. Look, thank you. Thank you so much for this chat, this conversation. Real pleasure to meet you and real pleasure to learn from you. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you and talk with you and to grapple with some of those challenging questions.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
I enjoyed it very much.
Okay. Well, have a fantastic day. Enjoy London. Enjoy the birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rand.
So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen, and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.